Hi, back again with a look at John chapter 2. And I just want to reinforce before we go on to John chapter 2 what we had gone over in John chapter 1, and also the fact that I'm trying to relate some of this study of the Gospel of John directly to the Christmas season, because that's the season we're in right now as I'm talking. So, what I was thinking is, after John 1, we talked about John the Baptist, and then John the Baptist, two followers, Andrew and probably John, followed Jesus. Then went, Andrew went and told his brother Peter, who was also called Cephas, who was also called Simon or Simon Peter. These guys have lots of different names, okay? And John also tells us in the gospel about Philip being called by Jesus directly, and then Philip going and telling Nathanael. And what I found out afterwards is Nathanael's other name, sometimes he's referred to as Bartholomew. Anyway, I was thinking, okay, we'll go on to chapter 2, and John will tell about all the other disciples being called. But that's not what happens, which I found interesting. I guess that's what I was expecting, and I didn't see it there. They are mentioned later on in his gospel, and certainly the other gospel writers talk about the call, but he just goes over those five: John, Andrew, Simon Peter, Philip, and Nathanael, who's also called Bartholomew. What's interesting about that is John is a son of Zebedee, and his own brother James, son of Zebedee, becomes a disciple. He doesn't mention that at all. He doesn't like to talk about himself, John. He doesn't mention himself in this account very often. I think only maybe once in the whole gospel. He'll refer to himself as the disciple that Jesus loved, or the other disciple sometimes, which is interesting. So if you went through all the 12 disciples, this is the other thing that I didn't know. I mean, I guess I at one time probably knew the names of the disciples, but I really didn't remember them. So I found this list, this great pamphlet that has all the disciples in it. And here they are. Obviously Judas Iscariot. And when Judas Iscariot betrayed him, a man called Matthias was put in his place. Okay? But other than that, we had Simon the Zealot. Remember, we have Simon Peter, but we have another Simon the Zealot. Thaddeus, also called Jude, or sometimes Judas, son of James. And then we have James, son of Alphaeus, or James the Younger, or James the Less, sometimes he's called. Then we have Thomas. Remember, we all know who Thomas was. Matthew, who's sometimes referred to as Levi. Bartholomew, who's sometimes referred to as Nathanael. And Philip. Then, of course, we have Peter. James, son of Zebedee, who was John's brother. Okay. We have John himself, son of Zebedee, and Andrew. So we basically have two people named Simon Peter and Simon the Zealot, two people named James, son of Zebedee and James, son of Alphaeus, and two people who could be called Judas Iscariot, and then also Thomas, who sometimes was called Judas Thomas or Didymus because he was a twin. So those are the 12 disciples. And in John's account, we only hear about 5 of them being called. Obviously, later on in his account, some of them are mentioned. But I found it interesting that he doesn't go on in chapter 2 and keep talking about all these disciples. Instead, he's going to talk about another witness. Remember, John is always looking for witnesses to prove that Jesus is not just a prophet, that he's the Son of God and God himself in human form. The Word made flesh, which is how he started out his gospel. So in John 2, he gets into another witness, who is the Virgin Mary herself, Jesus' mother. So this account in John 2 is the wedding at Cana. Starts in verse 1. The next day there was a wedding celebration in the village of Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples were also invited to the celebration. The wine supply ran out during the festivities, so Jesus' mother told him, "They have no more wine." "Dear woman, that's not our problem," Jesus replied. "My time has not yet come." But his mother told the servants, "Do whatever he tells you to do." Standing nearby were 6 stone water jars used for Jewish ceremonial washing. Each could hold 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus told the servants, fill the jars with water. And when the jars had been filled, he said, now, dip some out and take it to the master of ceremonies. So the servants followed his instructions. When the master of ceremonies tasted the water that was now wine, not knowing where it had come from, though of course the servants knew, he called the bridegroom over. A host always serves the best wine first, he said, and then when everyone has had a lot to drink, he brings out the less expensive wine, but you have kept the best wine for until now. This miraculous sign at Cana in Galilee was the first time Jesus revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. After the wedding, he went to Capernaum for a few days with his mother, his brothers, and his disciples. Notice how John wraps up this miracle. This is the first miracle that he's going to recount in his gospel. And he's telling us the purpose for the miracle. Mary herself knows about Jesus. She's had the prophecy. She's been told by the angel. She knows that he's special. She knows he is the Son of God. And so she urges him to do a miracle here. And John wraps it up this way. The miraculous sign at Cana in Galilee was the first time Jesus revealed his glory. And his disciples believed in him. I love it that he revealed his glory because, again, John is likening this to the fact that Moses revealed the law, John the Baptist revealed Jesus. Jesus reveals God himself. And the glory that he reveals is the glory of the fact that he is God in human flesh. And Mary knows this because Mary would have known how she conceived Jesus. She's probably the only one who would be 100% sure that she had never been with a man and that her divine pregnancy really was the result of God himself. That this baby, this boy that she had been bringing up, was more than just a special man, that he was God himself, born of the Father, Word made flesh. I just think that's a beautiful image of Mary, keeping all those things until Jesus was ready. And the thing is, back then, men did not become rabbis or begin their ministry per se until they were much, much older. They really were in their 30s before they were considered to be a man and really began this kind of ministry. And so Mary must have waited a long time, 30 years or more, since she had become pregnant and delivered Jesus as a baby. And all of these years of growing up, she never forgot where his real heritage and real parentage came from. How could you forget something like that, How could she have forgotten the prophecies that were given to her? I don't think she did. She knew exactly who Jesus was. And she was encouraging him, begin your ministry. And he says, my time hasn't come yet. Begin your ministry. Sometimes a mother knows, Sometimes a mother knows. And maybe that is what Jesus, in a human part of him, needed, that encouragement from his mother. Okay, you're old enough now. Get going. We know you have a special mission here. So reveal it. Reveal it. And all of Jesus' miracles, every one of them, reveals part of God's glory. This reveals the ability to turn water into wine. That miracle power is what it reveals. But it also reveals just a caring, a caring. Jesus cared. He was obedient to his mother. He cared about the guests, cared about the people there at the wedding ceremony, and he was revealing God right there to begin his ministry. As I was thinking about the Christmas aspect of this, of course, Mary, what more could come to your mind than Mary, that's about as Christmassy as it gets, really. Mary was a principal character in our Christmas story. But I happen to be looking at What Child Is This, which is on page 58 of this little book that I have. I have to show you this little book. It's so cool. Look at it. It's all taped together. And I remember I bought it in Geneseo when I was in college. And at the time, it has a price down here, price 50 cents, but up in the corner, it's discounted to a quarter. So I bought it in the 70s for a quarter. It's falling apart, but I love it. I love the little Christmas songs that are in here. And I love how the arrangements are. They're old-fashioned, but I like them. They're just regular Christmas carols in the whole book. So anyway, I found this book that has a copy of What Child Is This? And I loved the verses when I read them because I did not realize, again, here is a person, this William Dix is his name, who wrote the words to this. And he set it to an old English song, Greensleeves. But he brings in the idea of the Word made flesh, and I never realized that. Because in the second verse, he says, "Why lies he in such mean estate where ox and ass are feeding? Good Christians fear, for sinners hear. The silent word is pleading." And word is capital W. If you look in almost every version, because I looked in other versions, word is capital W, which again is a proper name. It means Jesus. So, good Christians fear, for sinners hear. The silent word is pleading. Jesus is pleading for us. He's our staircase to heaven. He's our mediator. And then again in the refrain, nails, spears shall pierce him through, the cross be borne for me, for you. Hail, hail, the Word made flesh, the babe, the Son of Mary. And again, Word made flesh is capital W. So we have so many references to this in our carols that we may not even have realized. I mean, we just sing the words kind of, or maybe we know the first verse, we don't know the second verse. That happens to be the second verse of this one. But you know Greensleeves, and here's how it sounds. What child is this who lay to rest on Mary's lap is sleeping, whom angels greet with anthems sweet, while shepherds watch are keeping? This is Christ the King, whom shepherds guard and angels sing. Haste, haste to bring him, Lord, the babe, the Son of Mary. Why lies he in such mean estate, where ox and ass are feeding? Good Christians fear, for sinners hear. The silent word is pleading. Nail, spear shall pierce him through, the cross be borne for me, for you. Hail, hail, the Word made flesh, the babe, the Son of Mary. Love that hymn. Love that song. It's so plaintive. And I love the fact that it harkens back to the idea that Mary had a baby in human form, And it was a man, but it was also God. That's what God is telling us through the Gospel of John. And he points it out even in this parable of Mary asking Jesus to turn water into wine, because in doing so, he revealed the glory of the Lord and his own glory, which is the glory of God. So enjoy your holiday season. Find some peace and serenity today, and we'll see you soon.